Welcome to Tavern Talk, the show approved by 4 out of 5 Calvinists. We're here today with Richard Hanna, and Richard is he's an old friend of the farm. We are trying to do this show, Richard, about people who've visited the farm and who've worked for us and have been a part of what we've been trying to create. And you certainly came to mind as one of the key people over the last 10 years helping us out. He performed George Washington. And he's also had a very, very, very colorful life. You were born, what year were you born?
In 1926.
1926. So you are...
going on 89.
Going on 89?
I'll be 89.
Wow, wow.
I'm still kicking.
And Pennsylvania, right?
Yes, I was born in Brackenridge, Pennsylvania, in 1926. Brackenridge, Pennsylvania.
Hannastown, the town that some of your ancestors lived in the 18th century, is that Pennsylvania or is that?
Most of my in-laws, all of my family, all from Pennsylvania area. Yes. It's about, Brackenridge is about 22 miles up the Allegheny River from Pittsburgh. In the Allegheny, the three rivers, Allegheny, Minnehaha, and it's the Mohawk country, and 20 more miles from my hometown. In 1770, it's all American history. It's all about England and all about the Revolution. And if you don't know what George Washington did or the English did, then you never even got to third grade, believe me. Very patriotic, down-to-earth, hard-working, black-faced coal miners.
Yeah.
That's what we were. We're nothing.
But your trade was, you were a glazer, right?
I was a glazer after I got out of the service in 1946 from China. And I didn't have what I wanted to trade. So I had to register for the draft in Long Beach. And a woman was about middle age, 50 or so. And she said, you have to register you have 15 days to register. They're going to call you back maybe. So she asked me, well, what did you do? And I told her I worked at the Pittsburgh Plate as a glass and made bomber fronts and bulletproof glass. And then I was a packer, helped the packers just for 6 months or so before I enlisted. So I said, that's all I really ever done. And well, she said, nothing else? I said, well, no, I was in the service, Well, she said, what did you do? I said, I just learned to kill people. She said, wait a minute, you can't do that anymore. I said, I know. They gave me a piece of paper with a whole bunch of stuff when they discharged me saying things you can't do. And I know that you can't kill people because I was a kid. I was told you don't kill people. That's what made it kind of hard being in the service. You got to kill people. So anyhow, it's rather a long story. I think every soldier, no matter what he was doing, has a story to tell.
Yeah.
And mine might be just a little different.
Your childhood memories would be completely of the Depression, right?
My mother would do without food while I ate.
And you have an interesting story to tell about a potato.
Well, that is, if you were lucky, you could get an old potato. When they come through and root up the potatoes, they would cut the potatoes in two sometimes with the greens. And if you were lucky, as a kid, we'd go out there, and if we could find a half a potato cut in two, we'd take it and build a fire, because I lived in the woods just like this, We built a fire, and then there was Johnny Appleseed, and he planted all the apples, and we could eat those. And had them been for Johnny Appleseed and the few potatoes that we could take, well, I got awful skinny. I may not have starved to death, but my dad would get, if the whole 4 or 5 years that he was out of work, they didn't give you any money. They give you cornmeal or that. That's what you lived on. Daylight, morning, noon, night, whatever you could get.
So a potato was a bit of a find, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
You got to cook it. We cooked it ourselves out, away from the house. We'd build a fire, the kids.
Can you remember being hungry as a child?
Oh, yeah. Well, I went to bed hungry, but after a while, you shrink your stomach, and you get used to being hungry to a point. You must have some nutrition.
Did your parents have memories of fonder, better financial times in the 20s?
Oh, yeah, my dad was they interviewed me on the other movie and asked me what my father did, and I said he was not a tradesman. Says today you would call it a tradesman. He was a millwright. He worked on machinery, any kind of machinery for doing. And if you're a woodwright, he would work with wood. So he was a millwright, and in West Virginia, Fairmont, West Virginia, they had a glass plant down there, and they hired him to set up the level like this, where you pour the glass, and first they put in this big square, like 10 feet by 10 feet, they pour the glass, and before they do, they put down plaster Paris, and they pour the glass on it. And then it has to be perfectly level between the grinders they're going to grind it.
Now, this is what he did for a living. So
Yes,
the machinery that allowed that. All right. Don't take offense, but did you have running water when you grew up? I mean, was there a privy outside, or was there indoor plumbing in your generation?
We had indoor plumbing, but some of the places in the town had outdoor houses.
Well, the reason I ask it, my uncle, who was a touch before your generation, I think, he said his first job in the morning was to go out to the canal, get a bucket, and bring water into the kitchen, basically. Because and he went from that to television central.
You were out of the town, very far. Like we used to go out in the 20 mile to hunt deer. I just go with or to go fishing. Well, any place you went, you could take a bucket, and knowing the streams were running, and it was almost pure because there was no contamination.
I consider you, a great patriot. I mean, for what you did for the country. But my question for you is, I mean, what was it that instilled your love of America? Your parents, school? I mean, was it?
Well, being 17, everything you learn from school and school books. And
so is it fair to say that patriotism was taught in school?
Well, first I have to say that I have American history written. You saw it. Every major war that the United States had, my ancestors fought in.
Wow.
Starting from George Washington, two of my relatives fought with George Washington.
Wow.
And then on through, and also it's in the book, you saw it. My uncle was very rich. He had, in a steel mill, he had, bonds. So he was wealthy. He was only one of the family. But anyhow, then...
So you had Civil War fighters?
Civil War veterans. There was one who was a general, Hanna.
Spanish-American?
Yes, Spanish-American War. And my great-great-grandfather, Barnes has the middle name, he fought Santa Anna. After the Alamo, and General Santa Anna sent half of his troops home because he said, these bunch of farmers, they can't do anything anyhow. Well, then at Goleta, my great-grandfather, I have a picture of him, and he was a professor of schools, but he has the Spanish look of American. Well, his name is Simon P. Barnes, and he fought and defeated him.
And I just have to say, you reenact as well. You've reenacted George Washington.
Yes.
69th Irish Brigade, right?
Yeah,
right?
that's the Civil War.
And you actually do World War II reenacting. You've actually completely restored Willie's Jeep, right?
I just sold it.
Yeah. Oh, you sold it?
I'll tell you what happened. Anybody has a lot of money, then they buy stuff that's expensive. But when you're asking, the more money you ask, the less buyers you have. I found that out. For over a year, I tried to buy it completely restored, just like the day it come out. Even had the original engine, it only had 29,000 miles on it. Never changed nothing. I just redone it with the original parts. So I had probably $20,000 in it. But I was asked, again, I would sit in the garage and this and that. I tried to sell it to nobody, but finally somebody found out the condition-wise is what sold it. I had to take less money than I wanted, but the museum bought it.
Wow.
Norton Air Force Base.
That's great.
They said they never seen nothing like this.
That speaks to your standards. I should tell the guests is that years ago we were doing the Revolutionary War School tour for kids, and you come up and you got Bermuda shorts on, and you're kind of just touring the country with your friends, and and you walked up to me and you said, I'm going to join your group. I'm going to join your group. You know, I'm going to be George Washington.
You know what made me do that? They were all redcoats.
Yeah.
There got to be some American here. Somebody that's representing the United States.
Well, and you showed up within 2 weeks. You had, you know, an immaculate George Washington impression. You had boots. You had, and everything you had was still in the same condition 6 years later.
I'm a purist. If it ain't right, I don't want it. If I bought something at an antique store and somebody said, you know, that's not right, I said, can you prove that? And he said, yeah. Then I would give it away or throw it away.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to have anything that wasn't right or wasn't. Well, I wouldn't. If they catch you, if they catch you in one lie, then you're a liar for God knows when. You understand?
Right.
So I'm a purist. When I had done the Jeep, I paid too much to start with. The guy told me it's in excellent condition. It's sat for 70 years someplace.
Yeah.
The tires were just like new, but it sat there and it had splits in it this far. Yeah. So I didn't know that. I had AAA come and put it on and bring it to my place. And when I got there, I saw there were splits in the tires like this, and it wasn't any good.
The story that always touched me about your serving in World War II is that you basically had to lie about your age, right? I mean,
no, if you're 17, your father has to sign for you. You can't do it. He has to sign.
I see.
If you get killed, that's his responsibility too.
So he was willing to sign for you?
If you're 17 and a half, you can be drafted at 18 or you can join and volunteer.
And you went in 43 or?
1944.
So you were worried the war would be over before you got to...
Well, I wasn't thinking of that as much as I were that almost everyone had gone. I was one of the youngest kids that left. You get my point? I was 17 and 44. They were getting ready to invade Europe about 3 months after I joined. But
so you train at Pendleton, right?
I went to Pendleton, yes. Well, San Diego, then Pendleton, and directly, there was a scuttlebutt. They call that scuttlebutt is what you drink out of in the ship. You turn it on, and when they talk, you know. In the scuttlebutt, we were going to Hawaii. What a joke. I ended up in Guadalcanal.
So now you arrived at Guadalcanal. Were you part of the attack? Or
No. I was a replacement. They lost half the division. Wow. I get myself, there's 20,000 men in the division. Now, in order to attack the Japanese again, you have to bring up your division to full strength.
Right.
And so I was a replacement for the men who were killed at Guadalcanal. So that was in 1944. Now, we were on they split us up in regiments, and I was on a little place they call Pavuvu. And so after training, and the men came back and we got organized and had enough men and got the equipment, guns and ammo and everything. And then we were ready for the next one jump.
Right.
Of course, we didn't know where we were going, and they wouldn't tell us to get on the ship because if the Japanese found out, it would make it worse. Well, being in Guadalcanal, so it's 3,000 miles to the homeland, near the homeland, 300 miles from Japan. And the first time we're going to attack them in their own backyard. And so about halfway there, they said roughly where we were going. And there would roughly be 100,000 Japanese to fight, or maybe 110. It would take quite a few divisions of us in order to match or beat them. What happened was the Japanese lost so many men, you know, and we bypassed them out too, just starve them to death. All these people were being lost, so they had to bring a lot of their troops from China over to fight. And they put
were the kamikazes, had they begun by then?
I sit right up, well, I invaded. I was in the morning at 8 o'clock or 7:30, and I hit the beach. I was in third wave, and we walked in because they decided they were going to not fight us at the shore. They were going to go to the holes in the different south where they could have protection to fight. And all of them, most of them went south.
So the landing wasn't opposed?
No. There was a few dead Japanese that I got up, and I'll tell you the story if you like. I got in, it was a good Marine never puts down his weapon. He keeps his weapon, he sleeps with his weapon. This is your best friend. So I set there's nothing happened going on, so I set it down about 10 feet from me. And we went to see this Japanese and dead, and the friend of mine was Pileski, and he had a BAR. And he had put a handle on it on the bottom, so he didn't have to hold this way, he could squeeze this way. And so it was almost dark. And where I landed, there was a small airport, and they call it Yontan here. And then at the capital, there was the big airport. But we landed here. What our object was to cut the island in two, divide the forces. The first day we could move out and cut the island in two. So it was almost dark, and here come an airplane. Come in, I looked up, it must have been 60, 70 feet in the air. It was a Japanese Zero. And he come up like this up, and he turned, he looked down. I could see his white scarf around his neck.
Wow.
Vroom, vroom. He was coming into land. Because Tokyo Road said that the Marines had been pushed off. See, he believed it. So he come in, boom, boom, boom. I looked up, and Pileski had his BAR. He had a full 20 rounds of tracers. Boom, boom. Not every other one, but every one was a tracer. And he held it up at about 60, 70 feet in the air, and he put it right through the cockpit.
Oh,
boom,
my
boom,
God.
boom, boom, right. You could just, right. It was unbelievable. Here, my rifle's over here, right?
Wow.
I'm a good kid that didn't remember to hold his rifle. So he shot him down. He went in and landed on the airport. It was up above here. And we were going to go down and see what was left. When we got down there, and the Army had already held a 37 on the wheels. And when they landed, they hit him with the 37. It blew the plane half apart.
Wow.
When I got up there, he was already laying on the ground. He stripped everything off him. I didn't get anything. But Pileski shot him down with a BAR.
They're basically collecting souvenirs from the
Oh, that's it. Get something off the plane. I had a little medal about this long and about that high with a propeller on it, and it said something in Japanese. I couldn't read it, but I could speak a little Japanese. They told me what to do. So I didn't get anything, and that was it. Then that.
But you were saying, though, that once you began the land campaign,
Yes.
it felt like every 75 feet, they would open up on you guys, right?
It's from then on in is God only knows. But we were told, get together, get your gear on. We're moving out. It's almost dark. We're going to cut the island in two.
Yeah.
Well, the Japanese have a Bible, their Bible to go by, and we have a Bible that we do. You never walk down a road unless you put the scouts on both sides in your head, because they're going to be waiting for you on the road.
Yeah.
Well, that night, our job was to go down and had an object to find. So we moved out, and we were going down, canteens rattling, the whole thing, a whole regiment, battalion of us. And our object was to come to a stack, which was a sugar mill. They had blown down the sugar mill, all but the stack. And that was our objective on the road, to stop that night. And so it was about 3 in the morning before we reached it. I'll never forget me, young kids, I was a runner for the lieutenant. And the lieutenant said, by the way, he was a 90-day winner. He was a 90-day wonder. He went 90 days to be a lieutenant. So he said, Richard, go down up front there. You go along, pitch dark. Nobody would fire the weapons, nothing, until we got to where we were going. So he said, go up there and see if you can find out where in the hell we're going. This one, I was marching for hours.
He sent you out in front.
Yeah, sent me up there. So when I got up there was 3 or 4 officers around with the poncho, and they had their flashlights, like this, and reading the map.
Right.
And so I stuck my head under, and I said, Lieutenant Ferrari would like to know where we're going and where we're at. And I guess he was a colonel or a major, they're all officers. And he turned around and he said, well, you go tell him the hell we don't know. So he was upset. I said, all right, sir. I told him, hell we don't know. Just repeat what he said. Yeah. So then we, was a few, maybe 10 or 15 minutes, we found the stack. The ships, Japanese or American ships, had that spotted. And they come in close to shore at night because they couldn't see to hit them, right? And they fired flares right over that stack so we could dig in. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Right over that stack. They had a spot so small. I don't know how they did it, but they were just So we dug in. They gave us about 10 minutes of flares. They dug in. We couldn't
Right.
see nothing.
Right.
And we were out on the main ramp, right, going across. And then the road split. And so I thought, well, it's 3:30 in the morning. It's going to be daylight pretty soon, Lieutenant. I have to dig his hole too. So I'm not going to dig a deep hole because we're going to be up and moving again. You're going to dig another hole.
Right.
So I dug it about that deep, and I was laying with him, and all of a sudden, everybody on this machine gun opened up. Bam, bam, bam.
Yeah,
And I said, hey, they're coming. They're here. He
Right.
said, they're all happy. Don't worry about it, Richard. I said, okay. The next morning, there they were, 4 Japanese. They have hobnails on the bottom of their boots, the shoes. It make noise, right? Even on the dirt. So they had those hanging around their neck, right? And they were carrying Lewis guns, British Lewis guns with the cape on top.
Right. Yeah.
Machine guns with the Lewis guns. And they carried them and walked right into the machine gun. Just cut them to pieces. Didn't know we were there.
Yeah.
Again, surprise.
Yeah.
So, well, that was one thing. It's just a few experiences. But
And so that campaign that lasted how many days or months?
roughly 3 months. It was a big campaign.
So it was basically 3 months of nonstop combat.
Yes. Roughly 3 months of nonstop.
Wow.
You don't change your clothes. You don't do anything to win the war.
You never get used to it, do you?
You never change your socks. You're just soaking wet, sitting in water. It rained every other day. I think it was from the artillery shells. The phosphorus. Just pour down rain, and him and I sit together.
Was that summer, or I can't remember. Okinawa was.
It was April Fool's Day.
Wow.
Remember the first? I can remember. April Fool's. We thought we were going to fool them, but I think they kind of fooled us too. Anyhow,
we'll be back with Mr. Hanna with more Okinawa and the China campaign as well.